Come on.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back finally after months away. Thanks for your patience. Welcome back to the Check Engine Podcast, only podcast produced by three two-time winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. Andrew's still off on assignment, Tristan, but sometimes we just can't replace him with one person.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a small army to replace him this time. So we found enough people. Nick, would you like to tell our dear listeners who's here?
We'll jump into that in a second. I want to talk about why they are here first. So in the 5 years, holy shit, 5 years that we've been doing this, we've talked motorsports a lot, but it's always been IMSA, F1, NASCAR, IndyCar, all the high-level stuff. And the big boys and girls, but we've never really done an episode or any sort of topics besides, hey, Nick karted last weekend, that focused on grassroots motorsports, the local, the regional, the club level stuff. And considering the fact that I do that in the form of karting, and I know a bunch of people who do that with me, I thought I'd bring a few of my friends in to have the largest roundtable we've ever had to talk about grassroots motorsports, karting, what it's about, how to get into it, just kind of shoot the shit and have a good time. So without further ado, I'm going to try to go through and introduce our guests, and this is in no particular order. This is no favoritism. There is Brady Bunch on our screen here, so I'm just going to start top left with one half of the soon-to-be very famous Mean Wiener Racing team. Kevin Coleman is here. What's up, Kevin?
What's up, guys?
You're getting paid to be here.
Correct.
You are joining us from work. This is awesome.
Yes.
We don't tell people that though, right?
Nobody listens to this. No one's
I am on my union mandated break, and when my union mandated break is over, then I get to take my railroad mandated break. And then when that's over, I'm gonna take my personal mandated break. So it should be good for the long term.
It sounds fair to us, and odds are your bosses won't be listening to this, so I think you're safe. Next to him on my screen, I've got a Tag Masters veteran who could probably start a class of his own with all the kids he's got racing now. Justin Lapine, what's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going?
How was your Super Nats weekend?
Oh, it was so fun. It was a great experience to go out there and watch and see all the pros out there racing and watch them and see what I can learn from them.
Yeah, we'll talk about more of that in we'll dive into Super Nats a little bit here, but we're going to keep rolling clockwise here, right below Justin on my screen. He doesn't race in Tag Masters with us. He's a veteran of indoor karting, K1 Speed, who has transitioned now over the past couple years to, I guess what you would call traditional karting, outdoor gas-powered go-karts. His dad races with us, though. But Charlie Ropke, what's happening, dude?
How's it going?
I'm great. I'm excited to have you on, man. Just kind of different perspectives.
Right.
Below him on my screen, with probably the best backdrop of anybody here, karting vet from what looks like the world's best karting garage, Mr. Andy Braun is with us. What's up, man?
Not much. Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to talk some shop with you, dude.
Yeah, always.
Moving over to the left on my screen. As Andy pointed out, he looks like he's getting a haircut with the shirt he's wearing. The other half of the Mean Wiener Racing team, Mr. Brian Janty. What's going on, dude?
Gentlemen, how are you? Thanks for having me. If we're lucky, we'll have the Mean Wieners show up on this podcast, but I think it would be best if they stayed away.
That would be amazing. Just one thing on that name, though. Like, if you think about, like, high-level race teams, right? They're always either named after a manufacturer or they're named after a person. Penske, Ganassi, Hendrick. but more recently you've seen like a brand come out,
Yeah.
like Trackhouse, right? I think Mean Wiener is on the up and up, and it's going to be like the next Trackhouse.
Yeah, we're just
I
talking
mean,
about
if you
body.
can have Flying Lizard.
Yeah,
Right. If you can
thank
have
you.
Flying Lizard, why can't you have Mean Wiener?
And our logo is cooler than theirs.
There you go.
MeanWienerRacing.com. Just a plug.
What was it? Say it one more time.
MeanWienerRacing.com. Is that it, Coleman? It's been a minute since I've been on it.
Yeah, I mean we got Instagram. You know, we have our live merch store. Um, you know, I'm sure we're gonna probably have the Mean Wiener podcast pretty soon. I mean, we just might have to. We'll have
We've got a brand.
yeah, we'll have Mean Wiener church sermons. You know, whatever you guys want, we'll have it.
Awesome. We'll post links and everything in the description of this episode when it goes up for you guys. Last but not least, one more intro to get to. Another Masters veteran of regional national series, legitimately bona fide top 10 in the world in KA Masters category based on his run at the Super Nationals. Mr. Roman Pedans, how are you, dude?
Hey guys, I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Roman has recorded us, or is starting to record us without our permission, and Roman is a if those of you listening to this on obviously an audio platform want to get more visuals on what karting is like, Roman's got an awesome YouTube channel where he vlogs about his experiences. So Roman, where can they go to find your vlogs?
I have my YouTube channel called Love to Race. So I started last year, so I only have a few episodes. So yeah, but if anyone interested, just go to the YouTube and look for LV2 Race, and that will bring you to my YouTube channel.
Awesome. As soon as you're done listening, go check it out. So,
Thank you.
guys, thanks again for being here. I think we've got a really good mix of, time in the sport, experience, and that could, we can lead to talking about, expectations that you set for yourself and all those types of things as we go. So we're going to have a really good mix of viewpoints and all of that going forward. So I want to jump right into it and start with a little bit of recency bias. We mentioned the Super Nationals. We've got 3 of our guests, I think, were out there. So Roman raced, Justin and Andy were out there as well. Why don't you guys, talk about what, first of all, maybe what the Super Nationals is or are words. I don't know. I haven't done this in a while. Talk about the Super Nationals, what they're about, and your experiences. Yeah, go ahead. We got you.
Uh-oh.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. For me, like growing up, I've been karting for 25 plus years, and growing up, it was always a bucket list item. I used to have Shift a Kart Illustrated and have to order the DVD from the magazine to watch it. This year, having some Roman and some fellow tag masters competitors out there, it gave me a reason to go check it out, and it was just a good time. Like it was the Indy 500 to go karting if I ever seen one.
How many karts would you say were there? If you had to ballpark it.
I think they had 595 entries. Right about 600. It was something to see. People from 60 countries. Uh, it's you hear about it, but once you see it, it puts it in a whole different perspective.
Yeah, that's insane. And you think about we kind of teed this up as like grassroots motorsports. That's about as high level as the grassroots gets at that point for stuff that
I would say that's not grassroots racing there.
No.
Justin, what about you? What was your takeaway from it?
Oh, it was the experience was just incredible. The amount of incredible drivers out there was it was neat to see. And then I've never seen a lot of shifter karts before. So having a pro shifter class out there, just watching 55 karts out there, just barreling at you coming into turn 1 was That was something else. So as a race fan, that was just really exciting. But then just as takeaways, just watching the Masters, professional drivers from around the world, watching them drive and see what I could possibly take away from them and put it into my own, and then also just hanging out there with my buddies, with Roman and Andy and Wes and some of the other Masters guys that were out there, and it was a blast.
Awesome. And Roman, as I said, actually top 10 finish out there out of what was the Masters 48?
40,
Is that
44.
the entry?
They maxed.
I think the entry count was 48, but actually probably there was a little bit less guys that actually raced. I think a couple didn't show up. So, but
But
yeah,
yeah,
it was.
yeah, talk about your weekend. We were saying before we went live here. I mean, I think Kevin or Justin said like the smoothest, consistent weekend out of almost everybody there in class, right?
Uh, yeah, it was. I mean, that was my fifth Supernats I ever raced at, and by far, I mean, it was the cleanest one. A lot of, like I said, I mean, I got lucky at starts. I had a really good inside, position at the start, so which always help, especially the first two corners were right-handers. You want to be on the inside line, um, and yeah, I mean, it was usually the Supernats the you can't do mistakes. Obviously, once you go off a little bit of track, you hit the barrier, and it probably will end up your day. Not like on usually on the tracks that we race out on the outdoors, because you have like some runoff area. um, so that's the difference between Supernats and all the other racing there is. But yeah, I have to agree with Andy and Justin. It's every time you go there. I mean, it's just incredible feeling itself. I mean, the amount of drivers and the famous people, famous faces you see there, it's just unbelievable. Like, I mean, uh, we had the Will Power Racing with us this year. I mean, previous years we even had the Michael Schumacher, Checo Perez, Alex Rossi. I mean, just countless IndyCar drivers. Yeah, so that's probably one of the reasons why I love to go there, even though it's expensive, but it's worth it.
For those of us who are not as, you know, immersed in the world of karting, whoever wants to, Nick, Roman, either, anybody. So what is this Supernats Super Nationals? It's obviously it's a karting weekend. That's obvious, but it's like how is it set up? What classes are there? Where is it? I don't even know if we mentioned where it was.
That's right.
Just so we get a little bit of background of what we're seeing. Like the details are awesome, and it's great hearing that like a ton of people are there because we're a big fan of more people doing motorsport, so it's awesome to hear that a lot of people are there. But for people who like myself, I had never even heard about it until Nick was like, yeah, hey, we got some cool content for the podcast. A bunch of these guys were out doing this a little while ago, and I was like, oh cool, I don't know what that is. So it's we definitely an explanation would be nice for people like myself.
Yeah, if I may if I may jump in, the Supercarts is one off event. Usually, it's a week before the Thanksgiving weekend. It's organized by the SCUSA, Supercarts USA, and it takes place in Las Vegas. Couple of years ago it was different tracks, but typical the home track is a parking lot of Rio Hotel in Vegas. Sometimes if they don't negotiate or some other big events are happening, then they'll move us. Like last year we were at the Las Vegas Speedway parking lot, and then a couple of years prior to that, the race was held at the Westgate where a SEMA show was this year. So, but yeah, but the home track is pretty much Rio Hotel in Las Vegas. It's just one off event with a big money prizes organized by the SCUSA USA or Supercarts USA.
Awesome.
What's the
So,
what's up,
and
Andy?
just
Yeah.
just to top on, just to add on top of what Roman was saying, and to add to what the event is. I mean, basically, it's a one-off event. The best of the best come to it. It has a two big highlight class races, X30 Pro and Pro Shifter. Both of them pay 15,000 to win. So you can imagine it's a pretty damn good show.
Damn. And this was the first year that the Masters category was a part of it, right?
That KA Masters was.
No.
Yep.
Yes, KA Masters was the first year, but they have a X30 Masters program. That's the one I used to race before, and they do have a shifter master shifter program as well. So
Yeah,
if you
I
have
was
30,
there once. Oh, go ahead, Romans. I'm sorry.
all I'm saying is if you have 30 years and older, you can still find yourself a class to race at. So at the Supernats.
Yeah, and around the country, outside of Charlie here. That's why we're all here, is because we all race together in a master's class here at home in Wisconsin. I was out there once, way back, like 2000, whenever I was at UNLV, 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
I just went out for the day, and I didn't know, even karting here at Badger Kart Club and stuff. I didn't know that many go karts existed. Like
That many brand new
much less be there in one place. Like you had
100%. When you're
Right, was
walking
that-
out there and you walk past a trailer that's just full of shifter motors. Like I seriously walked by one and there was like 200 shifter motors in it just walking by, like motor after motor. And it was the amount it was incredible, from being at IMSA races and IndyCar and other stuff, and then seeing something like the high level go-kart stuff like this. Like, it's so comparable. So comparable. Just the way the tents are set up and the teams are set up, and how they're sitting down looking at data the way that they do, and it's very interesting.
They all have hospitality areas. It's impressive. If you haven't been
Yeah,
out,
it really is.
check it out.
This is
Yeah, I think the cool thing about, I've never been to Supernats. I've watched it because places like Kart Pulse now have it available for us to watch on YouTube. So there's a lot more access to see this racing now. And I think it was the 25th year they've run it out there. And I've been karting for about 12 years and have gotten really into watching Scoozins, but someday I'd love to run it. But I think the cool thing about it is that it's basically the Super Bowl at kartings, and you can have guys who just run club races who are racing on the same track as, professional karting drivers in Europe and professional racing drivers in IndyCar. And I think Will Power was running there this year, and Antonio Pizzoni, who's a former F1 driver at Jaguar, was racing shifter Masters this year, and Verstappen's raced it, Schumacher's raced it, Perez has raced it. So you get this really cool morphine of karting racers of all ages and all skill levels all coming together into one spot for this huge celebration. And it really is incredible to see the talent that shows up for these races, and really anyone can run it. I mean, I think you can just basically, I know it's expensive, but you can just basically sign up for it and go out there and run it. So really, a really unique event.
Kevin, I think you had something.
Yeah. So, I've never had the chance to experience Supernats, but I have gotten the chance to experience working for a professional karting team. I worked for Nitro Kart, doing tuning and driver coaching. And Nitro Kart is owned by Nick Tucker. And up until this year, Nick Tucker was part of the final assembly for the number 4 car driven by Kevin Harvick at Stewart Haas Racing. So when I was asked to come in and do some coaching and tuning for Keelan Harvick and some of the other mini and micro drivers at Road America for USPKS, said sure. When I showed up to an old Stewart Haas NASCAR rig with a circus canopy tent filled with go-karts on the whole upper level. I'm like, this is for cadet drivers, and just the professionalism that it's involved in karting. I mean, I started karting at 6 years old, driving, out of the back of my grandfather's pickup truck. I'm seeing these guys show up with, full on featherlight rigs, and it's like, what? Where did this come from?
Right. And for someone like Tristan or listeners, cadet is how old? 8,
Uh,
9, 10?
yeah, cadet. Justin can be a little bit more helpful on this because he's got the Brady Bunch of cadet drivers.
Depends which class you're talking about. You got a couple cadet
So
classes.
yeah, so the
So
mini,
micro, I believe micro's from 7 to 10,
yeah,
and
and
then
then
mini is from 8 to 12. They give them the option at 8, I believe. So kids, 8 to
yeah,
12-year-olds, about cadet.
yeah, and then
That's interesting. Like you always hear about like how critical karting is to all these famous people. Like they always mention like, oh yeah, I started out in karts or whatever else. It's interesting that it's interesting just for like myself to like see it in practice, or at least secondhand. You guys are like oh yeah, all these famous people's kids race, and even after they've become big famous race car drivers, they go back and do these big events. And it's not just because you kind of get that feeling sometimes when they're going to like you know development series races just for fun. It's like when you get like cup drivers driving
Xfinity.
Xfinity races or whatever, they're just in it just for fun. They don't really care.
And sponsor obligations.
Yeah, yep. It's interesting to see things like yeah, sure, it's a you said it was like a $15,000 prize, but I mean for these guys, that's what they spent on their hotel. So it's not any big. It's
If
not.
you win that 15 grand, you just lose less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like and
For an
and
event
for
like
them to
that,
still
yeah.
be for them to still be doing that, you know, it speaks to how important karting becomes for people who do it, which is cool.
Yeah, for sure. Like willpower is not like, Brian mentioned Pizzonia, who is a former, like Will Power is the current
Yes.
IndyCar champion. Like he just won the championship in IndyCar a couple months ago, and he's out here doing karting. Like a lot of those guys, whether they race it or they lend their name to a chassis and help develop it, like it's good training for them to keep their mind and their reflexes sharp in the off season too. Like Kevin had mentioned, the owner of Nitro Kart working for Stuart Haas. Andy, you've got behind you WPK Will Power Kart. That's some folks that also work
That's
in
right.
IndyCar too, right?
Yeah. All the MPG guys. Billy Vincent, he's second in command at Arrow McLaren. He started out racing at Badger like all of us, and there's roots.
And
that's a
you
conflict of
figure,
interest, isn't it? WP Will Power and Penske getting a cart made by some guys at Arrow McLaren, like, whoo, that could be in the tabloids, blowing stuff up right now.
Yeah.
Well, Will Power Kart brand is no longer
Yeah,
a thing,
unfortunately.
so it doesn't matter.
No.
They became friends when they worked together at Penske, and they're still buds. So yeah.
but you figure if a guy can set up an IndyCar or final assembly on a Cup car in NASCAR, like they would know what they're doing when it comes to a kart, right?
I don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
They got
Whoa,
a pretty
got
good
some-
pro-
got some-
they have a
some
pretty good
disagreement
program
here.
going on.
I don't know. Because karting looks to the naked eye, karting looks easy, but I think all of us can attest here that it is not. It's not all rainbows and unicorns. It's not just, gas on the right and the brake on the left is optional. I mean, the amount of um, the amount of effort I think all of us put into trying to get these go karts fast, compared to these teams that have engineers, wind tunnels. They have all this. They have all this computer data to do what we can't do. I mean, you see all this wind tunnel testing that these guys are doing. F1, IndyCar, where they're working with shocks and suspension and stuff. We don't have that. We are that. I don't think an engineer can hop in a go kart and you know, do what we do because he can't figure out that, that scientific equation for himself.
I would have to agree
Right.
with
Like our
Kevin
bodies
because I
are
was
the
reading the
shocks.
article.
Go ahead, Roman. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I was just saying that I was reading the article. I think there was a Le Mans prototype engineer was talking about that when he showed up to the racetrack with his kids in a go kart, everybody thought they're gonna win just because he's an engineer for the Le Mans team. And he said it was such it was way more complicated than he thought than Le Mans car itself because the chassis, the steel, is the suspension. It's something he never would imagine to work with compared to actual suspension, how to set up the Le Mans prototype car. So it's the same. It looks basic, but it's not. There is science behind it too. So, and whoever figures it out usually is, the fastest one at the track.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the phrase applies like whether you're racing a car or a kart or even participating in another sport, like maybe the first 85%, 90% get you in the window is achievable, but where you separate like the guys up front at the super nats, those pros is that last 15 or that last 10%, those minute details, that 500ths of a second, those tenth or two that you're looking for. Like that is really, really hard to find. And I think I can attest for that. Like I improved, I thought, pretty well over last year, and I ended up running way lower in the standings because people were improving more than I was. So um, it's crazy. So did a lot on Supernats there, which is cool. We'll back up a little bit and let's just talk about 2022. And I think I want to pick on Charlie a little bit. Um, for one, because he's been quiet for 26 minutes and 45 seconds now. So,
Get him to talk or he's going to lose his voice.
yeah. So, I think it's a kind of a good transition to talk about, it's not as easy as it looks. Charlie, you had a lot of experience indoor, but this is, I think, your second year running in like an outdoor style kart, third year maybe. I don't know. You can tell me and just kind of talk about what your season was like this year.
So really, it's my first year for any type of karting because indoor I just started a little bit before this outdoor season in 2022.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is my completely fresh to it. Like I've maybe jumped in a kart or two like a year or two ago, but that's really the only experience I had.
So talk about kind of the expectations you set going in, and do you think you achieved it? Like, is there a high point, high moment you were really proud of, something crazy that happened that you didn't think you didn't see coming? um did you go out expecting, hey, I'm gonna go P1 here, or were you, talk about that?
So I had my at the start of the season I had my expectations like relatively realistic and everything because I've been at the track with my dad helping him out and I've seen the competition in the IME junior class, so I knew I was going to be towards the back. Um, but I really do think it takes a lot in karting, a lot more than I expected, definitely. And yeah, it's just that improving every time you go out was really important for me. And I had chances to get podiums and everything during the end of the season, which was nice. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I remember talking to you over the course of weekends, and you're saying how this session was a second and a half quicker than last session, or I'm I'm keeping this guy in my sights, or I was able to pass this dude this time. And like, I think a lot of a lot, especially when you're starting out, I think, Justin, how long have you been doing this? I think you can talk about this a little bit too, is like managing that expectation where it's like, hey, I'm probably not
Oh,
gonna be
that's
racing for a podium this time, but it's
it's
like, what
really
is that?
it's really hard, especially this last season. Yeah. So this is my fifth, fourth season. My first season was really unsuccessful. I bought a tag cart. We were still running the 125s. liquid cooled for the Masters series, and it was real small at the time. There was, I think I raced with 5 other guys most that season. So I went out and I bought a cart, and someone hooked me up, and I got out on track, and it was awful for me. I learned absolutely nothing that season. I shouldn't say that. I learned a little bit of stuff, and it was a good starting spot, but it was very frustrating. So the next year I got a KA motor and started having fun, and we started getting groups of 10 and 12, and our group started growing, and having more people, obviously you have a lot more skill set, so you end up running with people and learning more. And so now that's brought me up to this like next season, this last season where we've been at, and I really had high expectations. I thought I was going to come out of the gate hot and really shine, and hope I could get up more top tens and real close up front. And it was just not realistic. I just also had an awful mindset to start it out too. I wasn't as it wasn't as fun for me to start out, and I just didn't look at it that way because I wanted to win so bad. I wanted to get up front so bad. And then
Okay.
about halfway through the year, I kind of shifted gears, and I'm like, just have some fun again and let it all be fun and do the best you can do while still knocking off time. And you have those days where you run top 10 out of 26 guys and 25 guys, and that day is really awesome. And then the next week you come back and you can't even stay in the top 20, and it's like, fuck, what the fuck is going on today? And it's so frustrating to go from that so high and doing so well to the next week not so well. Like that's where the difference is from the top guys to like where I'm at, is that consistency level. You talk about that 15th and stuff, that's every lap. You do that every lap and you don't miss, and you hit those marks every single lap. And that's something that's still working on. It'll get there. But those days happen. You see those top tens, and those are the ones that keep fueling you and keep fueling you. And then you have those bad days, and you take it home, clean it up, take it back out again the next week because it's that fun.
Yeah, try it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
My a quick Justin story. One of the coolest things that ever happened at a kart track. So, Justin, I think we're 3 years now. We've been racing together or something like that. But
Yep.
first year so that was 2020 to 2021. Huge pace improvement. Like all of a sudden you were right there with at least like some of the guys towards the front of the midfield, like where I was at. And I remember we were racing at Road America, and I think it was a heat, and it was like a second to last corner, like second to last lap. And you just threw it in on the inside. Like, and I wasn't expecting it at all. And like, I'm like, holy shit, that's Justin. And like, I was pissed that I got passed, but also like, fuck yeah, Justin.
Yeah.
And then we get to the scales, and you immediately turn around and you're like, did I leave you enough room? Was that cool? I've never done that before.
I thought about that
Oh, man,
earlier
you were
today,
cool. That was
actually.
great. Nice job.
And you were like, remember, you were like, you stuck that. And I'm like, I don't know how I did it, but I did it. And I just threw it in there, and it held. And
you threw it in so deep. I'm like, holy fuck, there's no way that's going to stick. He's shooting straight off into the weeds, and somehow it stuck, and it was awesome.
And it just rolled off on you, and it was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that was really cool. But it talks about like, but you it's almost like you're racing against yourself. Charlie, you said, you told me like a second here, a half a second here. And then you can get up to the group, you can kind of mix it up, and now you have those other benchmarks that you can look at. What's this person doing? How are they taking this corner? That type of thing, and you can really dial it.
And that's the thing I think I've really mastered, especially at the end of the season, is if you have a bad drive or something, instead of using all that time to be pissed at yourself and just dwell on it, I started just to pick away at what I can do better to maximize where I'm at for the next heat or the next race or whatever.
So what I'm hearing from a lot of you guys, or at least Justin, you were saying, and something I've experienced not doing, club racing or motorsport, but other club sports in my life, is that for a lot of people, it's just a great opportunity to do a sport you love, and any chance that you get to improve is great. And if you in my case, win a game, take P1 in a race, even take top 10 in a race, it's those little moments of success that, in my experience, have kind of, keep you in this sport that you love. And I was just wondering if that was the same experience for you guys, where it's like, yeah, obviously, especially for you guys, we're, as Nick's shirt says, not a famous racing driver. Um, but, racing drivers in general tend to be really competitive, but I'm wondering if it's the same kind of sentiment for you guys, where yeah, we'd love to win. We get upset when we don't win, but even that self improvement and the opportunity to do something we like is enough to keep us doing it.
Yeah, so I would say the coolest thing about kart racing is, although kart racing is obviously not the cheapest sport you can pick in the world, relative to motorsport, it's probably the best bang for your buck by a mile. And it is the cheapest form of motorsport. And I grew up around motorsport my whole life, going to Road America every weekend, my entire life. And you watch that over and over, and all you want to do is participate in motorsport, but it's just financially not obtainable for majority of the world. So kart racing is the way for most people to get into motorsport. And I couldn't afford to race karts when I was growing up. I was a big golfer, so my parents invested their time and money in having me on the golf course, and there was no way that they were going to let me race karts too, because golfing was expensive enough. So once I got out of college and I was starting to make some money, the first thing I did was get into karting again with my uncle,
That
and
sounds familiar.
it was my way to race to participate in motorsport. And there's the thing about karting is no matter how bad of a day I have, which this past year for me was a dumpster fire, to put it mildly.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that. I still love it so much because it's the only way I'm going to race, and it's so competitive. And the thing about kart racing is, especially our group, the Tag Masters group, which is just club level racing, is we get 20 to 30 guys on a race weekend, and you're always racing with somebody no matter what. And I go to SCCA events at Road America and historic events, and you see these guys, yeah, they're racing cars and it looks cool. And trust me, if I could race cars, I would. But they're spending so much more money than us, and they're not having nearly the competition that we are. So no matter how bad of a day I have on the car track, there's really no other place for me to go. So if I'm not going to race karts, I'm not racing cars at all, racing anything at all. So I might as well enjoy what I'm doing. And I do love it. And it's in the camaraderie that we have with club racing. We go out there and we try to beat on each other all day at the racetrack. And then once that checkered flag waves, we're all drinking beer and hanging out after. It is the perfect dose of competition and friendship that we have, and again, it's the best entryway into a very competitive form of racing. So I think that's why karting is growing so much. I think racing is getting so much more expensive as cars and technology continue to grow, but karting I think is always going to maintain its level of investment, and I think it's only going to grow as a result.
Definitely. But like one thing I've noticed was a difference between the Tag Masters guys and the juniors and the seniors is everybody's a lot more. It's a lot more cutthroat. I feel like in the junior because everyone is trying to be the next Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and everybody's at each other's throats. So it's nice to see you guys that just come to the track, have fun, have a beer
That's why
after.
I'm glad I'm old.
I just want to race.
I don't
Charlie,
know.
I will
Have you
say,
guys?
um, we always had a saying. My grandparent, my grandfather, and my father, like when I was growing up, like when I was around your age racing, every time I get ready to buckle in, they're like, "Hey, do you see who's in the stands?" And I'm like, "Who?" And they're like, "It's not Rick Hendrick. Just go have some fun." Like they would,
Yeah,
you
no
know,
one
like,
famous.
yeah,
Penske
it's
was
just,
there.
um, it's not about we've all gotten into this for the same reason, and it's just our that fire within us to just have that adrenaline rush. And you know, unfortunately, it seems like racing today has gotten less about talent and more about
Funding.
money.
Yep.
I mean, Kyle Busch, who I've done some work for in the past, he will tell you flat out that 95% of the kids in the truck series, they have no talent. They have income. He flat out said it in an interview, and it's very rare to see guys with low income but a ton of talent get to make it where they are. It's unfortunate, but it's just unfortunate. It's today's times, and I don't think it's fair that someone who just doesn't have $1 million, can't have the opportunity to be the next Lewis Hamilton, to be the next
I
Will
think
Power.
Mike said something to that effect in our interview with him too, about how money is becoming more of an issue. Well, yeah,
Oh, skiing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Basically, it was like a very similar sentiment. That he's like, I wish there were more people out there, with talent and money, because
Yeah.
then you'd be able to put these
It's
people
almost
that don't have as much talent but have all the money kind of where they should be.
it's almost like there needs to be two different platforms of racing. There needs to be a platform of racing for your guys who just have a ton of money that need to get rid of it, and then there needs to be that platform for those guys that are given a chance, who don't have the financial ability to go sit at a racetrack testing days upon days. I, I think we'd all be a whole lot further in motorsports if we had a blank check.
Sure.
That's anything. Yep.
Go ahead, Roman.
Well, I just want to go back a little bit, and I could not agree more with the Brian what he said about the karting itself, how cool it is, how friendly it is, and cost effective. If you divide cost and the dollar per laps, I think karting gives you the best bang for the buck. But also, I might have to disagree with Charlie, and he probably will have to talk to his dad and um, see what's going on at the scale house, especially when you have a couple, top guys running, and we do have quite a lot of arguments. And to be fair, a couple times I was one of them too. We still competitive. We still, there's still egos, uh, being thrown. Um, yeah, it's not as friendly as I think people expect the tag masters to be, but but it but it's still fun. I mean, if it
I
makes
think
does it make it go
I
ahead.
think the difference is you guys still have that same day on track like angriness, but then next weekend you guys can go and there might be a little bit of tension, but nothing too great.
Yeah, I think it's something
I,
that too. Like I said, I can't
I,
speak to the motorsport aspect, but like back when I played rugby, it was kind of the same thing. It was like you'd be trying to murder people out on the field, like just literally there was practically no holds barred. It ended up in fights half the time,
I
and then
played
as soon
rugby
as it was
too.
kind of the opposite. And then
Yeah.
as soon as you were done, like
you're shaking
Kevin said,
hands.
friends on the grid, assholes at the scale line. It's kind of it was kind of the opposite. It was like rip each other's throats out on the field, and then let's go eat dinner. But I think that's the difference between Charlie, you were talking about like, is it cutthroat or is it just a bunch of competitive people in the same place? And that's I think you see if you get a bunch of competitive people real close, you hit critical mass and you get some people blowing up. But
Well,
when I
There
was
is a clear difference between a senior driver and a master's driver. A
I was just
master's
gonna say,
driver wants to go home with the same equipment they came with and go race again
We
next
got to
week
go
with
to
that.
work on
My
Monday.
dad isn't here to put new tie rods on my cart that I bent up because I threw it in the corner because I needed to pass somebody. Like I'm gonna work my way around that guy one way or
that
another and not bend a tie rod or a steering shaft or an axle, at least hopefully.
yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's happened, but
Oh,
um,
100%.
I
so
mean,
I want to touch on that too, Charlie. I think I gave you a standing O when you said it because every kid almost in those divisions, those lower junior divisions, and unfortunately, a lot of the dads and the parents my kid is the next Jeff Gordon. My kid is the next Scott Dixon. My kid is the next Lewis Hamilton. I don't know if you guys, how many of you guys actually know this? For one summer, I was actually a race director at Badger.
God bless
Parents,
you.
parents are the fucking worst, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I had instances where two kids were in the scale line high-fiving and like congratulating each other over the cool race. Those same two parents were 10 feet away about to fist fight. I had parents come up to me for like cadet or even kid karts. His kid is hitting my kid. His kid is doing like, and I'm like, your kid is 6. He's still learning which pedal goes and which pedal stops. I guarantee you it's not on purpose. Like it's ridiculous. And I would like to, Andy dropped off, it looks like, whoops. But Charlie, we'll bring you in a second. But Justin, you are, not only are you racing yourself, you're also a racing dad. So like, how do you kind of manage
is
that?
he the worst?
Are
Nick?
you? I don't think he's the worst, but I want to hear
No.
like how you kind of
No.
manage that.
Hold
And,
on.
like, how you kind of,
Hold on. I got a Justin story. Before he answers. So we're in the scale line after a final, and
our final.
our final Tagmaster final. We're in the scale line trying to get through the scale, and the cadet class was up right after us, and all the kids are going out, and we're all pushing through, and we're all laughing, having a good time, and Justin's like, "Where the fuck is Izzy? What the fuck?" Like he just hands her in the air because his kid's cart wasn't starting. He's like, "Where the fuck is she? This is bullshit. What the fuck?" Like he's just losing his mind, right? And we're like, "Justin, go figure. I got a fucking scale for my points. Like, dude, just go." So he's like, Justin is like, he is that prime example, of like he's that competitive racer, but he's like that over competitive dad at the same time. And like it was funny to watch, but like it was like the opposite of the dads that you would deal with. But I just seriously think that that's like the funniest story ever. Like we're all laughing and his hands up in the air, like, "What the fuck? Why isn't my daughter on the track?" Like,
Totally. I had a good race too. That was a fun one too.
yeah. And then you were,
But yeah, that was a frustrating day. But it's it's got its ups and downs. It's exciting. It's fun teaching my kids how to get at it and how to get on the racetrack and being around racing with them. And my wife is super into it, so she's she is in charge of the kid kart stuff at one of the tracks that we race at. So it's a whole family adventure for us. But I've got a 5-year-old who races kid kart. His name's Jameson. And then Isabel races Mini Swift, and she's 10 years old. This is her 3rd season. And then I'll have one more. I'll have one more going next year. So I'll have 3 karts, 3
Jesus.
kids racing, and myself as much as I can. We'll see how that goes. But it's been an adventure. It's been an adventure teaching them how to race, just how to drive as a child. Like it's nuts. She's doing 55 miles an hour out there in a kid cart or in a mini Swift, and it's exciting to see them move along like that. But it's also fun just to bring them around motorsports. I've always brought them around races, going up to the IMSA races up at Road America, and always going out to races. So it's always been something that we were into. So it's exciting.
That's cool that they're into it. I guess, the question is like, what if one day like Isabel comes up and says, "I don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun for me."
That's all right, as long as I can
There you
keep
go.
doing it.
It's one less cart to wrench on.
It's one less card I got to wrench on. And that's
Less entry
I don't
fees.
know. I don't think she's at that point, but she's
More time and money for me.
right, totally, and it saves a little bit of money. It does, but I want them all to enjoy it. I've one of my mindsets in life though is if I want to keep doing it, I got to get my kids into it,
Yeah, for sure.
and then I can keep doing it. Yep.
Is
It's
it
fun.
the equivalent of I got to buy that Lego set for my kids?
Some things are like that. I
For
guess.
my kids.
Totally. But I enjoy hanging out in the garage and working on karts, and Isabel will come out and hang out with me, and Steph will come out in the garage with me at night after the kids go to bed and help me clean stuff up and get ready for the weekend and get out there for the next race.
It's important to have a supportive significant other too, I think, in
I
this.
couldn't do it without. I couldn't do it without. I wouldn't. I'm way into this more than I ever thought it was going to be. When I bought that tag cart with that 125, I'm like, I don't know, I'll run 4-5 races a year and maybe some practice days. And now year 4. My name was on the ballot of the board of directors at the racetrack, and I'm on a podcast talking about go-karting. So like it's awesome. It's more than I ever thought it would gonna be, but it's because I have a supportive wife and family, and they're all into it the way I am.
She's going to listen to this, right?
100%.
All right. Yeah. Well played then. So I want to.
But it's 100% the truth. You couldn't do this without it. There's a lot
Check
of
that
families
one
that
off.
fail. There's a lot of families that fail because of racing.
Oh yeah.
You've seen that
Yeah,
side
that's
of it
true.
too.
That's true.
So
So I want to.
We stepped on Charlie's toes, though.
Yeah,
he did have
yeah.
something to say.
Yeah, Charlie did have something to say like 20 minutes
Yeah.
ago. Sorry, dude.
I was.
You
it was just
remember?
weird. We were talking about the crazy parents, and even in, I mean, I sort of understand it in club karting because it's the start to everyone's race career. But even in the rental karting stuff, it's when I'm just there to have fun and get some practice in. There's always 3 parents that are about to fist fight each other.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, man. Like
It's crazy.
there was one class when I was race directing that had like issues 3 weeks in a row. So it was me and the club president at the time and the flag man. Before we let them out for their final, we actually called all the parents up and we lined them up on the pillows underneath start finish. And I just told them, I'm like, none of your kids are going pro. Like, calm the fuck down. Like, I hate to break it to you. They're here to have a good time. You should do the same thing.
Nick with the harsh reality coming in.
I kicked it. I had to kick a guy out.
I remember that story.
I had to kick a guy out. And I said, like, it was after the second heat, and he was just being an absolute dick to other parents, to other kids. And I finally just said, look, you're going to go pack up your go-kart. You're going to leave, and you're going to tell your son why he can't race the final.
I mean, how many times do you guys see, not just in motorsports, but in any sport, you see these kids who have become elite athletes because of the amount of time and pressure that they've been put into, that, these kids aren't quitting because they just want to quit. I mean, they're getting burned out from their parents thinking that they're, just, I mean, what I love about, my talks with Charlie, or, talking with Justin's kids, it's like, dude, we're laughing, we're having a good time, we're trying to find all the positives out of the day. It's never like, it's just never, all right, man, well, this is what we got to do to make the next step. It's like, all right, man, what we got to do just to be, make that next corner just a little bit better the next race. It's just, that's what I wish more parents were into with karting, is just like not pushing these guys to the point where they hate it.
Yeah, I definitely I agree. That's where I think my dad too is, because he's always kept me with realistic expectation, and going into every weekend, like, there might be a chance that I can get a podium or get top 5, and he always just kept my expectations realistic, which I think really helped me to get where I'm at now, going into my second season racing regional, maybe a national or two. So I think it is very important.
I
That's
probably
awesome.
Sorry, I probably don't have a right to talk about the parents because I don't have any kids, but I think the pressure comes from how much money is being spent. I used to coach tennis because I used to play tennis semi-professionally, and you see the same attitude there as well. And then same same thing. I do go to the local track and help newcomers, and I do see a lot of parents, being frustrated, and then they blame everything but their child. Like they will blame equipment, they'll blame engines, everything else, but they're not willing to spend the
Blame Nick.
time what what we actually do. So, and to be fair, I think that's where the pressure comes from. Like, as where so much money is being spent on the karting or tennis lessons or golf lessons. That's why parents are, they think if they pay, they have all the rights to be mad at the coaches. I don't know, everyone else but their kid. So, I don't know. Would you guys agree
There's
with
such
that?
a
Oh no,
want.
yeah, no, I agree
Okay.
with Roman on that. Yeah, I mean, just the amount of money that's invested in their kids just in any sport. I think the only thing they want to see is some type of return on investment. Um, but that return is not so much a financial investment; it's just more or less a pride or a ego investment. Um, that essentially all of us right now are doing when we race against each other. We're just trying to increase that ego and pride, and I think the families that we see in karting that are going to move up, like they're just there to kill a weekend. We can all agree that there's been too many times that we see at just the club level, we see guys showing up with stock car and NASCAR type double deckers, and it's like cool that you're here having fun with us, but like that you don't need to bring that here.
Yeah, and one thing I think might pan out weird, especially in my age group, is all of these guys have been racing since basically since they were in the womb. They've hopped in a cart ever since they were little, and their parents have put so much pressure and everything on them. So I think I'm wondering if some of the top guys in my age group and everything are gonna get burnt out or something, because I can totally see how that could happen.
Not only that, we have some serious talent here in the Midwest for kart drivers. I mean, we
Oh
really
yeah,
do. I mean, our
Absolutely.
masters class alone, I mean, our top 8 are serious ringers at any race you put them in.
oh yeah,
Our junior class for KA at Badger, I
oh it's
mean,
crazy.
the up and coming in the junior class is crazy. And what you have to compete against is crazy, Charlie. But that also puts your level up too, and
Oh yeah,
you're forced to learn faster. So
right.
like,
And
it's double sided. It's double sided. You can do it. You can look
I
at it
think
both ways.
I used to think it was annoying to race against some of the best drivers in the Midwest and everything. But now that I'm looking at it, it's like if I was racing with anyone else, I wouldn't have learned almost anything, because
Learning curve.
some of the biggest things I've learned is the mindset and the mental part of racing too. Like you'll have a really good weekend, but you won't have a result on paper, and at first that's really difficult because you want all the trophies and you want all this and that. But again, it's just realizing what you can do that weekend realistically.
You want your bedroom to look like Romans. Both.
I want
But
my bedroom to look like Romans with all the animals.
Yeah, he's had quite a few visitors.
dude, that has
Uh,
been amazing to watch
I,
in the background, by the way.
Yeah.
Nick,
well,
you made a very similar comment actually after you found out how some of these guys did in Vegas. You're like, it really puts a perspective on, you know, the I was perceiving myself as having a lot of trouble, but in reality it's just I'm putting myself up against really, really good drivers, and it kind of makes you feel like actually maybe I'm doing all right.
Yeah, totally. Like,
uh,
watching, Roman finish top 10 or watching Larry lead all but 2 laps in the final, right? Like, so when Larry kicks my ass a couple of times next year, it's like, oh, wait, this is a guy who is literally podium level anywhere he
yeah,
races in the world. Like,
In the
that's not
world.
that in the world, not like that's
World.
not that big a deal.
Right.
Like, you're right. There's so much talent in the Midwest. Like, one of the I dread it every off season because I always go, wait, who's eligible for Masters now?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
I think what
Uh,
Koyen can race with us next
EJ,
year if he wants
EJ
to. Like,
from
Sure.
son of
Octane.
a
He
bitch, man.
He said he's not racing any races. They're going to practice, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll see
He'll
what
be
happens.
there.
I will try to bring him in. Like I've been talking to, and it's just the only reason is just to making the weight. I mean, but yeah, I really would love to see him with us. But yeah, coming back again to the conversation, uh, yeah, you have Christian, Womir, the techno guys. He's a USPGS champion, and then Larry. And when we can race them for $40 a weekend, and compare themselves, because to me was the biggest thing or goal for 2022, get on par with Christian, because I know Larry and the other guys like Nikki, Jamie, those are a little bit. I mean, honestly, I mean they're ahead above us, or at least above me, the way I feel it. But getting on par speed wise with a Christian, it it made me feel good. It kind of, I don't know, was it the Christian falling off or just me being quicker? So there is the question now. But yeah, overall, I mean, like it was great to see. Like I said, I mean, we have a good group of guys and a competitive field, and the more that we race, the quicker we are getting. And I noticed it like every single one. Kevin, you came this year. I don't remember racing you before, but I was like, whoa, where'd this guy come from? you know, uh, yeah. I mean, it was great.
Yeah. Two things quick. One, I want you to tell Christian that he's falling off and see how he responds, and I want to be there.
Yeah, I was thinking about that one. I'm like, I'm
He's
not
gonna.
mentioning
He's
that.
Christian's
I'm
gonna
not
take
touching that.
Christian's gonna take a drink of the bourbon, and then he's gonna bamboo you over the head with the bourbon, baby.
Yeah,
Well, let's put it
yeah.
that way, though. To be
I'll
honest,
brew you
though,
with the bourbon.
to interrupt you guys,
Um,
Christian did beat me a couple times at the Route 66, but I was able to get around him as well a couple times at the Route 66. So I should say, I kind of closed the gap, because back in the day he used to be at least 6 7 tenths quicker. Now that would be probably 2 tenths quicker at the super nats. I know, at the heat 3 he just blew by me, he passed me, and I'm like, oh man. And again, I know he was a little bit quicker. If you look at the practice times uh, to me the measure is basically the gap, not where you finish, because like it's all about the luck sometimes. You get bad luck, and it's all about the gap. And I noticed before Christian and Larry was so like 7 tenths ahead of me. Now it just, the gap kind of get a little bit smaller, and I'm so proud of myself for that.
and you should be.
Thank you.
Talk about
Um,
bad luck. Let's talk about Brian's season.
I was just yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
here's
I
the
want to kind
highlight
of
of it.
transition and talk about, touch quickly on just 2022 Masters, and I want to bring Brian back in for a couple of reasons. One, there was a quote he had that ties back into this whole expectations conversation really well. But you had, I mean, Cartoon Anvil like
Hey,
hitting you every
I
single week.
I
We,
had
we spent we
nine,
spent some
10.
time together in the
Yeah, we did.
infield a couple of times.
Literally together.
Literally together. But the your expectation quote, that the race at Road America when they did the split, the slow and the fast heats, and we made the fast heat, but we were in the last row, and it was about like a half a second gap to the row in front of us. Do you remember what you told me as we were walking up to the grid?
I don't remember specifically, but I knew we had nothing to lose, if that had something to do with it.
Well, that's what I'm like, man. It's just gonna be you and me all by our lonesome fighting for ninth, and you're, without missing a beat, you're like, I'm just happy to be at the grown-up table.
I was head of the kids table that day.
You
Hey,
were
that's-
I was head of the kids table.
Yeah, that was oh my god. Well, that's just a testament to this group. It's like every year this Masters group just keeps getting bigger, but I feel like as it gets bigger, it just more talent comes in on top of it. And now it's like I used to be consistently top 6, and now I'm like just trying to make top 15 at this point.
Yeah, it's insane. But yeah, let's get to. Do you have like a laundry list of all the shit that went wrong for you this year?
Well, it's funny. I actually keep an Excel document log sheet of all my races, and I happen
Let me pull up my spreadsheet.
Yeah, and I actually have it right here. I was actually
Wait,
funny enough.
you're serious?
Oh no, I do. Yeah, well, this is nothing you want to look at.
No
He's a
way.
numbers guy. Aren't you a numbers
This-
guy?
This is what happens when you are in like the finance world. Like everything is
Right, you're a numbers guy. They just
Yeah.
make spreadsheets about spreadsheets.
Stare at Excel
If you don't
spreadsheets
have a
all day. Why not?
grocery list.
Yeah, I think I need to get rid of it. This is
Broken down about 60 cans of corn this year.
yeah. Well, I will say the thing I love about karting is usually it doesn't cost you much money, and I've had 10 years of really no issues. I used to when I first started karting again back in 2012, I jumped into 125cc single speed, the what was then the IAME Leopard, and I used to blow 3 motors up a year, and I only raced like 7 times a year. And so, but I was running at Road America, and it wasn't nearly as competitive as the group we run with now, and it never really bothered me, other than it was a punch in my checkbook. But other than that, I have never karting has been beyond help. I've really had no issues with mechanical problems, and then 2022 happened, and it made up for the last 9 years healthily. So, but hey, this is this is what happens, you know. And I still love the sport. I might love it more, and I will be back next year just with some new equipment. So,
Just a year that proves that the law of averages is a thing.
exactly, I summed that up. But yeah, this year, as you guys know that raced with me, it was yes, I'd say the group got way more competitive. So I think my expectations, I think my expectations got lowered a bit, but it was just one of those years where the motor, I was just having motor issues all year. I had a couple run-ins, some stupid stuff that I did, like I mismounted a tire in a qualifying session and had a puncture and didn't even know and went out on a flat tire. So it was just like a culmination of Dumb and Dumber moves on top of some mechanical issues. But that's the thing. That's what happens in racing. You know, there's some things that are just out of your control, and I guess it just kind of makes you want to punch a little harder next year or sell all your equipment and start over. But my theory is just throw money at the problem to fix it. We'll see if that works.
For anybody listening, Brian's got 3 go-karts for sale.
Yeah, three go-karts, 2 shifters, and a KA, and I've sold none of them yet. Might be too early.
Someone needs a impromptu go-kart for Christmas. Please contact Brian Janty at brian@meanwienerracing.com.
Yeah, please, God, take them. I think it's time to consolidate and focus on one class this year. So I'm looking forward to it. But yeah,
I
our
hope
friend
you have a shifter next year.
I think you need to buy one.
I just want to know. I just want to lap in it. I just want to take some laps in it.
Well, I think we should ask Kevin Coleman about his experience driving my shifter.
Yeah, Kevin Coleman, how was your experience in Brian's shifter this year?
So, the first time I went out in shifter, it was the first time I've ever been in anything non-single speed, and I was just happy to get out of the grid. Just
stalling it.
Yeah, without stalling it. So I got off the grid, and I've never experienced go-karts with front brakes before. And the first time I went into turn 1 at Road America, I had hit the brakes as I was downshifting, and I swear I had an impression of his Micron 4 in my chest for about 3 days.
No wonder it's broken.
I've never experienced front brakes, you know, and because I hit the brake so hard, I was about 2 gears too high. So off of every corner, I'm lugging everything, but it was incredible. And then the second time I go out, I was all pumped because I had to beat my time, and I didn't even get through the chicane. I spun out, stalled it, and my shifter career officially over.
And now I'm selling it. I'll never have a chance again.
unless
it's always a
risk. The cost of buying.
There we go.
Hey, one of the shifters I'm selling is my buddy's, and he doesn't care what I sell it for, so I can get you. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
then
yeah.
We got to
may,
keep these funds hidden from my wife and say you gave it to me.
I'll
Hey,
offer
your
the
wife
thousand
really
dollars
likes.
right now.
Yeah, she loves the shifter
I,
carts.
like I said, if shifter cart racing comes back to the Midwest again, like real popular in the area,
I'm throwing the offer right now.
Hey,
A
hey, we can
$1,000.
negotiate.
So
Hey,
it's always risky to hop into somebody else's cart. Charlie, if he hasn't told you the story, you should ask your dad about the time when I blew his 125 motor up at Badger
Oh God,
mm,
no!
in a
I haven't
practice
heard about
session.
that.
I'll call him up here to tell that story. Get him
I
on
will.
get him on camera.
I will. Hold on.
While we're
Yeah,
waiting for that, a little birdie told me, Roman, that you're originally from Latvia.
that is correct.
Cool. And you went back there recently. Do you do any karting? Did you do any karting while you were there? Did you do any karting before you came over here? What's the is it similar
Uh,
culture
well,
wise and stuff?
actually, I started karting when I moved to United States, and I moved 18 years. I'm sorry, yeah, 18 years ago. So in 2004, but I started karting about 10 years ago. So all my karting experience was in the United States. But uh, when I was growing up, my dad's best buddy used to be a karting coach in Soviet Union, and then he was like a Formula Three driver. My family never had the means to afford racing, but when I was like 9 years old, they were able to put me in a shifter cart. They actually put like in the second gear. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Nick.
I'm
You once
sorry. A shifter cart at 9?
Yes, that is correct. They
Man,
put that's all. That's all.
they don't give a fuck.
No,
I'm
that's how it
getting
was.
Jameson a shifter cart.
It was the night, but they put in the gear. I couldn't even reach the pedal, so they actually put the like coats and jackets at the behind the seat, so I can reach the pedal. Right. I mean, it was the pretty much the cart. The cart was. I was going around the circle in the idle speed, so that was it. When my dad and his best buddy probably were grabbing a cold one or something. I don't know. I don't remember that, but I remember driving that one. It actually had the third pedal. It used to have a clutch pedal, not the like a shifter carts. They have a clutch now on the steering wheel. Back then, in it was 91, I think 90 or 91. The Soviet carts, they had a clutch pedal as well, so it was a three pedal go kart.
That is so
But
cool.
I never touched any of those pedals, so they actually had to catch me when I was stopping. But yeah, I never started karting in Europe, so I all basically I started racing here in the United States, and about half year ago, I was able to go back to Latvia, and I have a friend that owns the track, and I was able to actually use his equipment and race there, and experience what the European racing is. And the level and competitiveness is just unbelievable too. Like I don't want to take anything away from big series in the United States like USBKS and SCUSA, but you have all the cart and engine manufacturers located in Europe. So the attitude and the way they look at the karting is a little bit, I think it's a little bit different than it is here. Because we're here a little bit more laid back, like we enjoy it. It's uh, more of a family time. That's how I feel it. In Europe, that's a professional sport. You actually can make money just racing a go kart. Like it could be your career, and I mean, a lot of guys do that, and that's why it's you know it it was I, I was not at the hot spot of European karting racing, which is Italy, but the Baltic states is pretty competitive when it comes to karting too. They produced a lot of champions there too, and I put myself there. I tried DD2, and in the rain, I mean, my butt got kicked because it was the first time driving. But yeah, I did okay, I think, in the you know in the dry. So
Dude, that vlog you put up again, folks. Love to race on YouTube. LV number 2 race. Um, you had that cabin when you went back to Latvia this year. That was like trackside or whatever that you stayed in. That was like
yeah,
heaven.
yeah, it was actually. That's why I was talking about. my experience at that track specifically, 'cause it was so cool. I mean, the track has a sauna. They have a big pond. Uh, i- it's like training facility. To be honest to you, like you don't need to go outside the karting track to to spend there a week easily. And enjoy it because, like I said, I mean, you have all the amenities. You have you can drive different go karts, and I was able to drive DD2 for the first time, and that's where I tried the shifter cart as well. I stayed above the garage with the view of a track. The track has a restaurant. We have the track actually. When the competition is there, they have a chef that comes from Italy, cooks the pizzas and everything else. Yep, and they have a sauna. You can go rent a sauna. Spend the time in sauna, jump in. I mean, like that place is awesome. Like if you guys really want to go and sharpen your skills, I mean, there's no distraction. Like you staying at the track and all you do just drive, 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 go to bed, wake up, drive again. So
Take me,
all
So
right,
sir.
yeah,
let's go.
sign me up. When are we going? When do we leave?
I could probably get pretty good if I did that every day.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the best vacation I ever had. Like it was great.
So that dude,
That's
that was
incredible.
so awesome.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
those were great vlogs, by the way.
The
Like
drone
thank you,
work. The drone
the
work,
drone work was incredible.
dude.
thank you.
And Roman, I don't know if this is proof. Like, what do you do for a living? Because it literally looks like you're in that type of industry.
Actually, no, I am a professional driver, but not the race car driver. I drive semi truck for a living.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I just one day, if you look at my vlogs, what I do is I watch YouTube while I'm putting the vlog together, how to do it. So that's my work process. I'm learning at the same time while I'm making it. So
That's
yeah,
that's I would have never guessed.
Yeah,
oh,
that's not something I would have picked. I would have
I
picked your profession. So I want to put a bow on 2022 just to keep this moving along. So I want to go just quick around the horn, and just like biggest takeaway, best moment, craziest thing you saw, best experience of this past karting season. So I'm just gonna start. I don't know. I'll start at the bottom this time. And Kevin, you're on the bottom of our screen here. So like, what was your 2022 takeaway?
So 2022 was just being able to get to the track and race was a victory for me. It was the first time back on track since COVID. I raced up until COVID, and then I had to put some family priorities first, so I had to put racing aside. So just being able to get back to the track was a huge victory for me. Um, I think the highlight of my 2022 was, I think, setting pole. I think it was my second race that I ran. My second race back in a cart in 2 years. I was able to set the pole at Badger when we did knockout qualifying. Um,
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was huge, man.
yeah. I think the craziest thing, besides the insane amount of entries that we had for our little local club series, had to be when we ran 2 laps at Road America while Dean was laying unconscious. Um, it was kind of weird trying to battle with Christian for the lead while I'm looking over and like, wow, there's someone knocked out at
Like
the
just
top of the hill
a
at Road
body
America.
lying prone on the racetrack.
Yeah, yeah. I actually have it on my GoPro, where like you just see my head turn, and I'm like, what the hell did I just see? Um, so yeah, it was probably the craziest thing. I don't think I
He's
really.
okay, by the way.
What's that?
Dean is
Oh
good.
yeah, yeah.
Dean is good. He's okay.
Dean's alive. Dean's alive, ladies and gentlemen. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I just think 2022 for me, just like I said, just just getting to the racetrack and being able to race again was probably my biggest victory.
Awesome.
Happy to have you
Brian.
back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, dude. Brian, what about we went into your 2022 to kind of pick on how bad it was,
Yeah,
but
do we need to reiterate?
I mean,
Well,
if
you
you
have
if
a
you
bright
want to,
spot.
Hey, I will turn this into a heartfelt moment of positivity,
as you always do.
as I always do. You got to be optimistic.
Kindred spirit.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, this year was rough for me, but the thing about it is, I think it just in just grew my appreciation for the sport. It got me to learn how to wrench on a cart a lot more than I've ever wrenched on a cart before. Um, One of the coolest things I got to do this year was with Kevin coming back. I actually ended up buying a cart from Kevin this past year, um, and we got to develop a relationship and kind of create our own little team within the Tag Masters group, which has been awesome. But also having Kevin alongside with all his karting expertise has been huge because now I've got a guy to lean on who is willing to spew everything about karting that you could ever imagine, which has been huge for me. And I think that's one of the coolest things about our group is, um, I remember early on in the season, I was having issues with setting up this cart and was just really off the pace early on. I think it was one of our first races of the year at Badger Kart Club in Milwaukee. And as competitive as a group as we have, it was insane to see how many guys just, without me even asking, just came around to my cart and were like, "Hey man, like we noticed you're off the pace. Like what's going on? Like what can we do to help?" And there was a point at Badger where I had Kevin, Christian, I think Larry, uh, Dow. I had like four guys surrounding my cart. We brought Blake over, who's one of our quick drivers too, and we all were just gathered around my cart trying to figure out what do we need to do for setup. And nobody needed to do that. We're all racing against each other, competing, but everyone felt like they wanted to at least try to help out and try to get me up to speed again, which was amazing. So I think as competitive as a group as we have, everyone there is, thinks of each other and really wants to see everyone succeed. So amongst all my challenges this year, I that was a bright spot for me, and I got to learn a lot more about karting than I could have ever imagined. And I'm just so pumped that this group is growing. I've got friends who know nothing about karting that are now interested in coming out and watching us. They hear about it all the
Thank you.
time. They want to see this. I mean, it is worth. I mean, there's always someone to race with in our group. When you got 25 carts racing against each other, it is entertainment, and I think
It's a feature
it's just
class.
it is honestly the
Feature
feature
class.
class of these clubs, and it's just been so fun to see people want to see karting and get involved in motorsport. People have never been to a racetrack before, uh, so next year I'm coming back stronger. No motor issues. It's gonna be fun.
Look out, world.
That was something that I had, as much as I've known Nick for literally almost our entire lives, I had never been seriously to one of his races. I think I like dropped by Badger one time and
Way back in the day.
like way back in the day before you took your little hiatus, and like watched you and your dad wrench on the cart, but I don't think I even really like got to watch a race. I didn't have enough time to stay. It was like between races. But then this last summer, I went up to Road America and was there for basically the whole day. So I got to see all the practices, the heats, the all that stuff, and it was something I commented to him basically as we were packing up for the day. I was like, "This is unreal how friendly it is." Like all the motorsport that we go to, all the professionals, it's like they've got stuff under tarps. They've got like people standing in front of cameras to like make sure that you're not seeing what their strategy is. They've got privacy filters on the engineering stand computers, and it's like we don't want anybody to see what we're doing. It might give them an edge. And watching people who are, as we discussed earlier, like genuinely out there to compete with each other, as they're walking by someone's trailer, like, "Oh hey, saw you were having a problem last time. Did you try adjusting whatever, the air in your tires, whatever?" And just the friendliness of it. And that's, I told him that that's what made me like we were all pointing at me like friends who had never paid attention to karting before, they want to come and watch karting. Like that was why I was like, I definitely got to get back here. I did not the rest of this last season, which felt terrible, but
Yeah, fuck you, man.
hey, next
There's some
season
good racing.
definitely. But it was an interesting thing, a refreshing thing to see, compared to a lot of other motorsports. It's cool.
I appreciate you not calling me over to help with that, Brian. I think you know me well enough to know that I would have been no help. I was probably
I only,
you
I
were
only
that
come
day.
to, I only come to you post race because I know where the beer cooler is, and your mom makes the best damn wraps.
That's what I was gonna say. Like you're better off calling Nick's mom over because with everything in shambles, like we needed a snack.
I go to Coleman for the tech. I go to you for the grub.
Yeah, no matter what, I always had Cheez-Its ready for me.
Cheez-Its, yeah, dude. What is it with you and Cheez-Its? You eat Cheez-Its by the box, bro.
Man, I don't even know. Like I just one day I think I just kind of remembered that Cheez-Its were a thing. And it was when you brought me some Cheez-Its and like
Then all of a sudden he bought stock in it.
You just can't
Oh.
stop now. You just
Well,
can't
when-
stop.
When you guys were talking about, like, I think it was Andy who connection issues dropped off. Sorry, Andy. Was talking about super nats and hospitality. The first thing I thought of was like my mom could rival that.
Oh yeah,
It's insane.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
absolutely insane.
What, my
Yeah.
mom or super nats?
Super nats.
both.
I mean, just a
Oh,
USPKS event. I mean, I love your mom. I mean, Mama Rogan, if you're listening, I love you, Mom, but fucking super nats or any professional karting, the stuff that they do is just ridiculous. It's like
We've
it's
always
like
said the best
$350.
track food.
Dude. It's
We've always
three.
said the best track food is at Road America.
You get like
and
a 5
it's true
course
even
meal
for karting.
at a USPKS.
What's up, Justin?
But I got to piggyback on that camaraderie stuff. Like I wouldn't be competitive if I didn't have your help, Nick, or Kevin's help. Like Kevin helped my kids out too. All of it. No, seriously. Andy, who had to drop off, I wouldn't be nearly where I'm at without his help. And some of the other guys that I work with, and Bobby, and even Wes, especially Wes. Last year he was a big help for me. It was funny quote. He's like, "I'll help you get as fast as me." He's like, "But once you're there," he was like, "I'm done." So it really has been. The camaraderie part of it has been so much fun. That part of it keeps it fun, and I got to remember that fact. So make sure I go into this next season with a better mindset of keep it more fun. But that drive to improve is always there.
Always.
And that want is always there, no matter what. But
yeah, amen.
It's still got to be fun, and know that there's ringers that.
I want to make Roman's vlog more.
It's gonna take a little bit. Yeah.
That's 2023. My goal: make Roman's vlog more. I want to be more present in his vlog.
Roman, go interview Kevin every fucking week. Just annoy the shit out of him every session, every week.
I will. Well, he looks good on camera, so I'm pretty sure. I mean, he's gonna have some time.
Asphalt.
Yeah,
Kevin, this is your screen test.
I got a face for radio, boys.
Yeah, me too. So I got a camaraderie story actually about Kevin from last year when he wasn't even racing. It was the last race of the year, and I was having really bad, I don't know, fuel line, fuel filter, carburation issues. We couldn't get the thing to start and run for any, like, we couldn't pay people enough to get it running for us. And I was rolling off the grid, and I got to, this is at Badger, and I got to right past the fence line where we enter the track off at turn 1, and it just dies. And I'm like trying to start it, and I'm playing with the needles. I didn't even know Kevin was at the track. Like, he comes in like a fucking phantom, like out of nowhere. He's like like he just like swoops in, and he's like pinching the fuel line and coaching me on stuff. Just out of like, dude, at that point I hadn't talked to you in like over a year because of COVID and everything. Like, and he was just there. I want to get this guy out on the track. Like, it was unsuccessful, but at least he tried.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of to like what Brian said, if we can't race, we want to support our friends who race um, if we can't be out there, we want to be doing everything we can to push our buddies to be out there and doing what it takes. And that's my best and worst quality is that I'm always gonna help whether you want it or not.
It was much appreciated though, man. So real quick though, we've talked about like I think we've hit on a bunch of reasons why we love the sport. Um, Cost effective, competitive, camaraderie, all that good stuff. It's kind of come up naturally in conversation. I do want to wrap. Charlie, like, what is your takeaway? Like, give me a minute or 30 seconds or whatever on 2022. Do the same with Roman. And then I think we'll just dive into one more higher level question before we let you guys go.
Where do I begin? It was all around a really great season. I think the thing I'm most proud of is getting seen by some of the bigger guys like Jamie, like Blake, like Larry, and all them, seeing that they saw I had something and saw I had some skills and I had kind of a future in motorsports. So I think that was my proudest moment.
That's awesome, dude. Like,
Yeah.
that's a stamp of approval when guys at that level are coming up to you.
Yeah, and I want to put in one thing for my dad because he must be in bed or something. If he was here, if he
What
was
time
here,
is it? It's 8 o'clock. It's 8:30. Come on, man.
no, that's
That
late
time.
for him. But if he would have to say one thing about his season, I think he would say that he passed Christian in competition.
Yes.
He was on fire at the end of the
That's
season.
what I enjoyed for this last year. So
So we get the Christian as a mark now.
Yeah, he's the mark. He's the mark. I remember when we were talking. I met your dad had kind of struggled early on in the year, and then he started picking it up kind of the back half, and we went to check the timesheets at Badger where they hang it under the flag stand, and like it was like your dad was way up the grid in qualifying from where he was before, and he was standing there looking, figuring out where his place was, and I'm like, "Damn, Bob, that was a good lap." And he looks to me and goes, "You're damn right it was." Roman, give me a 2022 synopsis. What was your?
Oh, oh my god! I mean, I you guys will probably have to stop me because 2022 has been the honestly, but it's been the best year so far. I had to travel back to Europe and was able to race there. That's one of the biggest highlights. But again, I mean, I cannot take away anything from the Super Nets as well. Um, I got very lucky and finished in top 10, which is the best I ever did. Um, and honestly, the one more highlight I want to actually point out is that my mechanic, you guys probably don't know him, but my mechanic from last year from Super Naziel actually helped me a couple times in at the SCUSA events. Won the Rotax Grand
Yeah.
Challenge
Yes.
in Portimao this year. His name is Kristaps Gasparovich. So he was the part of FMS team. He came to help us and worked with me, and I'm so proud of that kid. And yeah, so it made the whole year even better knowing that your friend, your help, your mechanic wins the world championship.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
That's
great.
awesome.
That's
That
incredible.
is
it is.
awesome.
Yep.
Take what he says seriously.
Now I have to.
Yeah,
Yeah, you don't
he's
have
got,
a
he's got.
Right.
So, don't want to keep you guys too much longer. Appreciate the time so far.
I
So,
get paid by the hour, so we're good. Take as much time as you need.
yeah, you are.
Man, I'm in no hurry.
I get paid
I'm
by
going to tell my
miles.
wife this is still going in an hour because they're not here.
I mean, hey, why the hell not?
No. I'm still busy. I'm still
Oh
busy.
yeah, don't bring the kids home yet.
I'll be racing online somewhere in a little bit.
So yeah, I might too. I might
Yeah.
catch you on iRacing later, Justin.
Yeah.
The question, and not going to go around the horn. Anybody can jump in and answer. Why did you get into this? What got you started in kart? Charlie raised his hand first. Boom.
So it's kind of crazy because I used to play soccer ever since I was basically ever since I was born. Grew up with soccer, but I got to a point where just got burnt out on it, and it wasn't fun for me anymore. Because I found my biggest issue was that no matter how I played, if the team didn't play up to that the results still will not come. So I wanted to find a sport just where my performance determines how the performance is. Um, and that's basically how it all started. And my dad kind of brought it up one day, I think, and I got into F1 over the winter season. I started coming to some of his races. So yeah, and I just tested a KA and then spiraled since that.
Spiraled.
So was it Drive to Survive?
It wasn't actually. A lot of
Okay,
people
good.
No, yeah, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're a Drive to Survive fan," but really it was just I kind of turned it on one day because I remembered my dad did a similar thing, and I was like, "Well, this is awesome."
That's cool. Who else? Why did you get into this? What got you into karting?
Uh,
And I needed to run wheel to wheel with somebody. I needed to know what that felt like. I ran as a kid. I ran go karts as a kid. I had a Margay with a Yamaha 100cc motor on it, and I ran for like a season and a half. And I got bad grades, and my dad sold everything. I was a little. I was a few years younger than Charlie when that happened, and
Brutal.
yeah, it was brutal. And that's what started my love of motorsports, and it's always been there. So finally had a good job, and whatever else happened, I'm had a motorcycle. I'm like, I'm selling this and I'm buying a go kart. I bought that Haas chassis with that 125, and it's hanging on my wall right now.
Nice. You didn't even
Yeah,
sell it.
no, it's hanging. No, no one wants to buy it.
I would have, trust me.
I put that thing up for
I
500
tried.
bucks. If it didn't sell for 500 bucks, it's going up on the wall. So now it's garage decoration, or like a Rock Island chassis or something like that.
There you go.
Yep.
Oh man, I got into it because you can only watch racing for 21 years, watching other people do it for so long before you're like, fuck this, I'm doing it myself.
Yeah.
It's just,
nice.
it's just ridiculous.
I love it. It feeds you.
I mean, I was at Road America when I was probably 7 months old, and every race weekend going to the track, and it's like it's fun to go there, and I still go there all the time for every race. But and my dad grew up in Elkhart Lake and was born. He's so old that he was there when they were running on the streets around the lake. And he's been going to the racetrack for 60 years, and he's never really wanted to get on a racetrack, and I just can't do that. Like I've been around racing long enough and seen other people have so much fun, and it got to the point where I'm like, screw this, I just need to do this, and so hey, karting's the way to do it. I'm not going to go race cars. It's a waste of money. So karting is the outlet, and I've it takes up a lot of my time, but I can't think of anything else I'd rather do.
Yeah. And
Awesome.
Brian, I think you and I are like way more alike than we thought. Like I was the same way. I grew up at racetracks. Like my my dad was he was a mechanic. He was actually a spotter for super late model teams at Slinger and around the Midwest. Through a connection he had, he ended up crewing for a guy named Randy Rollman, who ran Corvette Challenge and Trans Am and ASA. Like when I got out of school, every Saturday or Sunday was at a track. And like the earliest memory I have as a kid was sitting on my dad's lap watching some NASCAR race, and he was telling me who was in what car. Like,
Your first 500 was in the womb.
yeah, my first the first Indy 500 alive was when I was 9.
Yeah.
But the first technically Indy 500, my mom was pregnant with me. So like the same thing. Like there's only so much like video games and everything else, that can kind of fill that void or like kind of feed that hunger. And it's like I got to do this for real. And like my dad actually stopped crewing for the teams that he was crewing for to come be my mechanic doing karting. And then Tristan mentioned my hiatus. My dad actually had a really honest conversation with me my junior year of college. He's like, last time I heard, Penske wasn't calling to sign you to a development deal. So maybe we just put this on pause for a while until you finish school. And so that's what I did. I sold all of it. That's actually when I did the race director thing. Finished school, moved to Michigan for work. As soon as I came back, first thing I did, went to the kart track, found something, bought it. And I even told my dad, he was retired at the time. I'm like, hey man, I'm doing this again. I learned enough from you. I can do this myself. You don't need to be there. You're retired. You're on your own schedule. He is like, even now in the off season, like every other day, like he's texting me like, did you get this? Did you talk to this person about that? Like he is just, that's where it came from for me.
We'll be out somewhere and his wife gets a notification on her phone. It's like, someone was on the camera in your garage, and she's like, "Oh no, someone in the garage!" And you're like, "It's my dad. He's working on the cart." Like it's like
he comes over unannounced to wrench on the cart during the season.
You see him
like while I'm
elbows
not
head
home.
under the cart.
Yeah. I don't know if he and my mom had an argument and he had to leave the house or what. But
Whatever it took to get him in the garage.
yeah, he opens the door, goes and then I come home and he texts me, "Hey, I did this, this, and this." I'm like, I was gonna do that today.
Yeah, he secretly wanted you back in it, damn it, and it worked out. Yeah, it's such a good sport. It's unbelievable, and like I said, it's the easiest outlet or easiest way into motorsport. I mean, I think I do it as probably the most simplest way possible. I could pack all my racing gear into a 2-door GTI with a trailer on the back and go racing every weekend. It's as simple as it gets. I did sell the GTI.
I'm on the opposite end.
Yeah, right. Well, you've got
a fleet, dude.
I got how many rig I can find.
If I had 5 go-karts, I'd be screwed.
Family racers.
We won't talk about how
Totally. I bought an RV to tow my 12-foot trailer.
Yeah, Jesus.
I thought I had the simplest form of transport, and then Coleman's like, "Hold my beer, I got one for you."
Yeah, Coleman does it well.
The trailer is a menace.
Is it even a trailer?
No,
I don't think it's.
no, it doesn't. It doesn't have wheels.
It's a platform. But that kind of illustrates like you don't need. You were talking about the rigs that you see at SCUSA or like what Harvick's kid or Kyle Busch's kid is doing. You don't need that to do it.
Right.
Like, Brian, you're a golf guy. Like, is it comparable to like run a season of Masters versus like what it is to have a golf club membership for a year?
Yeah, well, it's way cheaper than like a golf club membership. But I think about like because golf was my main career, and I was a professional for 12 years, and the cost of a brand new set of golf clubs is probably you can get into karting. You can buy a full blown ready to race go kart for the same amount of money as a full set of new clubs. I would say
that's insane.
Right,
That's
insane.
crazy.
And when we go karting, what are we spending a race weekend? You're buying a couple gallons of gas, pump gas, and then $45 race entry. So I don't know. I mean, I think compared to going golfing, if I went golfing every weekend, I would spend $70 to $100 on a round of golf plus 12 beers you drink and God knows what else. $200 you lose on the golf course. But I honestly think if you have a clean season of racing, it honestly is probably cheaper. So that's kind of my justification is I really don't play golf anymore. I got burnt out from it. And I would say racing is arguably kind of replaces that cost that I would be spending otherwise. That's my justification. That's how I justify it to my wife.
Got to justify it.
So, hey, Roman's back.
Sorry. Yep. My story might be a little bit different from your guys. The reason why I started racing and karting is when I moved to the United States, I kind of struggled with the depression and loneliness, and I was trying to heal myself, and racing was one of the best ways actually how to get your mind straight, and it's probably still so far is the best therapy I ever had. I mean, probably most expensive, but
It's a great
I don't know.
stress
Therapy
on the
can be
brain.
there can be pretty expensive.
It is, but like I don't regret it because it got me out of depression, got me out of loneliness, and I have so many friends now, and yeah, best decision I ever made,
Yeah, I think it was
and I
something
will.
that Nick, knowing, being able to watch from the outside, he can confirm this, perhaps, but um, he was back in Wisconsin. He was, in his office job, and he was living, not thriving. Um, and then he texts me super excited, like, "Hey, I bought another go kart," and like, just everything, even in his day to day life, changed back for like, smiles and like excited about the weekend. It's like, before that it was like, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, probably more work. And it's like, oh well, how about you do something fun? And then he's like, well, I bought a go-kart. Like, there you go, that's what we're looking for.
Right, everybody has their own ways of coping. Well, in my case, at least, it was ways of coping with depression. People, some you know uh, do. I mean, I don't know how to say that.
We should sell your
Use
way.
well, I mean, use illegal substance. I guess that would be a proper way. But to me, I never was into it. But I know I struggled a lot. Like it was so bad that at the point I just didn't want to be here. But I'm like, hey, you know what? I always loved adrenaline. I actually skydive too, and I ride motocross. Karting was there just because I had the availability to store the card, and then I have the team that actually upkeep all my equipment. But yeah, that adrenaline pumping and coping with the issues actually was the reason why I got into the sport. And like I said, I mean, never regretted, never. I mean, best decision I made.
Well, I guess my story is a little bit. I guess my story is a lot different than your guys's. I was well, I guess really not. I was born into a racing family. My grandfather um, is was one of the um, most popular drivers in the Chicagoland area. Um, he drove late models at Raceway Park, which was located in Blue Island, Illinois. Was probably one of the most premier short tracks in the Chicagoland area. Um, and then he started a business in fabricating race cars after he stopped racing. So my dad and my uncle, my grandfather were building stock cars for guys and providing at track parts and service to drivers. My family's had the opportunity to um, see a lot of big name guys before they became big names. Um, I mean, I most recognizably would be um, Mark Martin. My grandfather was a
No shit,
dealer.
really.
My grandfather was a dealer for a chassis manufacturer, and their house driver was Mark Martin. And this was a young Mark Martin from Alabama. And so my family got to do some work with him. My family's got to do work with Rusty Wallace, Dick Trickle, so
Most unfortunate name in motorsports.
man, he's the only guy I know who had a actual cigarette lighter in
Yes,
his
sir.
NASCAR Cup car. I mean, it's probably one of the
Yeah.
coolest stories ever.
One of the great videos is him ripping a cigarette under a
Yeah.
yellow.
Yeah,
Oh, it's so good.
He had
at
a
the-
hole drilled in the front of his helmet so he could slide
no,
it
he
in
had
there.
he had an open face helmet before they did that. But
For a
yeah,
while, yeah.
he had the push in plug in lighter. But yeah, so when the opportunity came for me to start racing, I was like 6 years old, and my grandfather put me in a go kart, and it was just something that I was going through some family things at a young age, and my grandfather kind of pulled me to the shop as my form of of like Roman, like my form of therapy. It just kind of kept me away from the negativity in the world that was in my personal world, And not only do I get to spend my time in a race car shop learning about race cars, but I got to develop a great relationship with my grandfather. And my grandfather passed away in high school, and we ended up selling the business after he passed away. And part of me just kind of was gone, and that I couldn't ever see myself racing without my grandfather. And so I actually took up professional bowling. And I was a professional bowler for 14 years. Um, I made it to the top 100 in the world.
Wow.
That's insane.
Holy
Yeah.
So
crap.
cool.
Crazy.
Yeah. So
I'm
that
happy
was,
when I get to 100 in bowling.
yeah,
Yeah.
I made it. Yeah, I made it to. That's kind of my claim to fame, is I made it to 99th in the world, in the Professional Bowling Association. And then, I got burned out. I got burned out trying to be on the road and try to make bowling a living. So I came home and went to work, and I always said that if I could ever afford to race on my own, I would do it. And I started indoor karting to get back into it with my friends. And then I met Larry and Christian at an indoor go-karting event.
Wow.
And then
No shit, really.
2 months later, 2 months later, like when I raced karts, I raced 5 horse Briggs. I was a Briggs and Stratton guy. 2 months after I met Larry and Christian, I was at Newcastle in an X30 racing a Scusa National.
It seems about right for Christian and Larry.
Wow.
Were you on the Techno chassis?
Yeah, yeah. I came back
Well,
when I came back racing. I started on a Techno, and I was racing X30.
what year was it?
2019.
I wonder, did I race that way weekend too? Because I know I did a couple of Scusa weekends
We
at
did.
Newcastle.
We did. It was when I was Scusa Great Lakes.
Oh yeah, that one year they did that, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
no,
and then
I
it
didn't.
turned into stars. But yeah, so after not being in a go kart for like 15 years, I just hopped in an X30 and was like, "Let's go, baby!" So yeah, my first lap was at Newcastle with the ski jump, where
Nice.
there's a plenty of YouTube videos of the ski jump, where you just see people just fly off you see people fly off the track, but I mean, you get airborne. So yeah, it
What
was
are you hitting?
incredible.
Like 80 miles an hour on that track in an X30?
Yeah, an X30 in the draft at the end of the straightaway, you're about 80,
80.
79, 80 in an X30.
Shifters are like 92-ish.
92.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
92
need to
is
do that. I need to do that.
What,
Well,
fly in the air at
this
Yeah,
is-
you have a shifter
miles an hour? Like,
this
is
is
that-
what happens when you
Hey.
have the internet and illegal substances. You think I need a drive shifter.
I need to do that.
And the wife away from.
Yeah.
Right?
No, so yeah, so I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of like all the rest of you guys, where just we were doing something that we love to do, and we just happened to be really good at it, and it just burned us out, and we just needed something different. And for me, racing's been a fantastic outlet for, like Roman, it's been a fantastic outlet for personal health, personal mental health. Um, just just talking to you guys. I mean, you guys have all become, just great people to have. We only see each other 10 times a year, but we're talking almost every day, and that's just, you guys have all been, a healthy, we're all healthy for each other in a really unhealthy financial way. Um, as much as I love you guys, my wife's probably like, all right, you gotta stop spending money with these assholes.
Oh, she said that. I've heard it.
Yeah. But so yeah, for me, like, I went when I first got back. Like, if you guys ever watched the E60 karting, the e karting documentary on ESPN.
No.
Yeah,
no.
so there's an E60 documentary for the e karting thing, and you'll actually see me on there talking about indoor karting series I created called Blue Collar Kart Night. And
No
Neat.
shit.
Cool.
Wow.
and it
Well,
was
that's what I'm doing. Fuck that iRacing thing, Justin. I'm gonna go find that.
yeah, it's a small
Yeah,
thing,
well,
but
if you
like
it's-
it just
if you
it just
if you have
talked
a
about
link, share it.
how it just talked about how like my whole goal behind uh indoor karting was just a way for guys to take this, to bring the fun back in karting, where it was like, we got so serious about racing that we just forgot how to have fun. We forgot why we got into it. So it was just cool to just kind of like close the garage doors, not worry about what you own, go hang out with the boys, go do some kart racing, and just remember like what brought us all into this racing universe.
Mm-hmm.
And it got a ton of exposure, obviously with ESPN and stuff. Um, so
Yep.
yeah, I mean, kart racing's been bowling has done a lot for me. I've won cars, like I actually won a vehicle in a bowling event, but yeah, the memories that have come from karting are just you can't put a price on the memories that I've happened to endure with racing.
So,
So
Kevin, I've got one follow up, and then there's one more question that I think we have before we let you guys go. So, quick follow up for you as a pro bowler. There's the focus, there's the determination, there's the mental side of being a professional in any sort of athletic endeavor. Like, what did you take from your time in the PBA that like carried over when you got back into karting?
a lot of it was, I think for me, was just not being someone that I like, not trying to be somebody I wasn't. Um,
Okay.
like for me, like this year when I came back, my goal simply was just to be near the top half of the field.
But you more than did that. Jesus.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, understatement.
But yeah, I guess I did beat those expectations. Um, but the amount of work I put in outside of just being at the racetrack, I mean, just the videos, YouTube is such a scary thing. I mean, there was so much I learned from watching Ryan Norberg. I mean, hate the guy for as much as he wins, but I watch every one of his videos where he does his commentary during his races, because you get to hear and watch his racecraft. So just that ability from what I took from pro bowling to karting was just staying inside your means, and just you're gonna learn every time you go out, and that's what I did in bowling. I mean, every day I learned something new. Karting was the same way. It's just be an open book, be a sponge, and just take every day for what it's worth, because it's never the same.
That's awesome.
So I'll venture to say that you guys have made this all sound pretty appealing. Probably to myself and I'm sure many of our listeners. Let's say
of our 12 listeners.
hey, that's still many. The many just means most of,
Okay, fine.
more than two. Uh, but let's say they want to get started. Um, you know, How do you do that? Do you buy a cart and a trailer as nice as you can afford and go have at it, or is there more? Is there more tactical? Are there more tactical ways to go about this?
I guess I could start with that one.
Okay.
When I first went to a go-kart track, when I first got brought into karting, first thing we did was we just went and watched. We just sat and watched karting. We walked around the pits. We just took a look at everything. We just kind of seeing what people were doing as far as tools and trailers, or whatever, asking questions. Because it's you got to make sure that you want to be part of the lifestyle. I think just more or less just being like, all right, is this a place where I can hang out? And yeah, I just think to get started, go to your local racetrack, watch, and just meet people, ask questions.
Okay. Uh, yeah, I can agree with Kevin 100%. When I started, because I come from no racing background whatsoever, I moved to the United States by myself with no trailer, no home, nothing, right? So basically a blank sheet. The way I started was that I found the local track that offers the rental program. I did the rental karting for about 2 years, and you know obviously polished my skills a good, got decent, I guess. And but the same, I was lucky though, because the track offered not only rental stuff, but they had their own track series called the Honda Box Stock. And
Oh my
yeah,
God,
after
at
2 years
Sugar,
of, yes
Is
sir,
that Sugar River?
Sugar River,
yes,
man.
yeah,
What a cool
yeah, I
place.
mean, it's, I
Birthplace
mean,
of Danica Patrick.
it is actually, they made a documentary there too. I was there when they were filming it. But anyways, so 2 years of rental stuff. Bought my first go-kart at Sugar River, and I was able to keep it there because I didn't have the means of transporting it too. So I'm so thankful to the owner, the previous owner, Marshall Fairman, that let me do that. And actually, they were so welcoming. Like anybody can go there, buy buy a go kart, and you can store there. So that way, logistics is not a problem anymore. You just show up for the weekend, pull your go kart from their garage, and race at their track. It was small, but that's a start. And after competing there in their program for another 2 years, I decided like, hey, now I want to try something else. And yep, the next step was the Badger and buying my first two-stroke, and kind of and that slowly snowballed into the bigger things, and here I am. So yep, like Kevin said, local track, go out there, watch the racing, maybe rent a go-kart, you know try to get involved into their own local series if you can. Find a shop that supports it, and see if you like it. And then things will actually. The funny thing is about the karting is, you don't need to know anything at all. Like you just can show up, and slowly the things just kind of start clicking. Like somebody will come and help you. If you don't know, you'll get the help. Like eh, I don't know how to explain that, but that I believe that's how it works. I mean, just you have to make that first step, and then people will come and point you to the right direction where you have to go. And that's what I love about the community, and that's what I try actually to do when I go back to Sugar River and I see the new families come there. I'll always approach them because that's what happened to me too. Kind of like a payback, if
Absolutely.
that's the right word.
Sure.
Tell like, hey, you know what? If you need help, I'm here. It's free because I was one of you guys, 10 years ago. So, and that's like a karting community everywhere I go. That's how it is. Like, that's what I have experienced so far.
It's a great mindset to have. That's what keeps
Yeah, I
people
think
coming back.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing about it is like, especially in the social media day and age, you could just go onto Facebook and, I mean, how often do we see on these karting club Facebook pages people that are getting into karting? They just throw it out into the group, and it's amazing how many people are willing to give advice and try to help people, at least point them in the right direction. And I think part of it too is you got to figure out what do you want to do in karting? Do you want to just have something to bomb around on, do some track days and practice, or do you want to be racing with wheel to wheel with people? And I think if you're looking to race wheel to wheel, it's best to try to get a sense of what's the most popular class at your track, because as we all know, every karting club, whether it's, you look at Road America Kart Club and Badger Kart Club, which are hour and a half from each other in Wisconsin, I would say the classes of karts between those two clubs are significantly different. So, um, and depending on what part of the country you are, there's going to be certain classes of karts that are going to be more popular than others too. So if you're looking to do wheel to wheel racing, I think it's best just to kind of nudge your club and ask around what are the popular classes. I think most people are going to poke people to start in a Briggs four-stroke kart just because they're lower horsepower, and it's not going to be as big of a learning curve. And start, the cost of running those carts is going to be cheaper too, and maintenance, and then you can kind of dabble in it and see if you're going to want to go faster or continue in the sport, the nice thing about buying a used cart is you can probably get into a ready to go good used cart for $2,500. And if you don't like it, you can probably sell it for pretty close to that amount of money. So I think the risk is pretty low, relatively speaking, financially for motorsport to get into the sport. But it's just kind of understanding that every track is a little different and really diving into what you really want to do with the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie or Justin, just to round this off, like, well, I'll frame it up this way. What's one thing you wish you knew, like day one or year one?
Well, that's a good one. Because I had a little bit of a rough start that first year. Like it really was. Like I didn't know nothing about this damn thing, and like I really should have done some more research. I think, especially where we lived, I think time of year when you buy is going to be massively economical for you. So like I bought in the spring, I should have bought in the fall. Like didn't really put that all together. Like I was like, all right, I'm doing it, and I did it. And I did it as fast as I possibly could. I went to the swap meet. I talked to somebody. I'm like, cool. I'm gonna come by your cart. That was it. Like I didn't do no research at all. So like digging into stuff of like what's real popular still. Like I was like, I'm gonna drive a 125 water cooled motor. That's what I'm gonna drive. And to find out that that's really not what people are running anymore. So I was like, all right, I should have dug a little bit more. And then time of year, after now that I've been in it for a little while, and to see when parts come up for sale and the most chassis come up for sale and time of year they come up for sale, like there's some definite benefit to paying attention to when things are going to come up.
That's a really good point. That's not something that was even on the top of my mind. Charlie, what
Yep.
about you?
I've thought about it a lot.
Now,
How I could have have started out more economically.
what about you, Charlie?
So wait, what's the full question again? Sorry.
What's the like something you wish you knew your first day or weekend or first couple races?
Probably just like number one, how physical it is. Especially through the silo at Badger. Um, that and just like how heavy the competition is in my group, definitely, because the top 3, 4 drivers are some of the best in Wisconsin, let alone all of the Midwest. So it was very hard to begin because you're expecting results and you're expecting to be good, but when you're racing against that high of competition, they don't come immediately.
Yeah, go ahead,
Um,
Roman. Yeah.
well, I want to kind of talk about the one thing that probably not many people talk about. Um, every the many families that I have met throughout the racing and tennis, um, they expect the results right away, and to me, that's the biggest frustration I see, and that's why the people quit. My advice or my point of view is you cannot expect the result of the first couple few years because it's a sport, it's a professional sport where a lot of people put a lot of effort. Like it took me 16 years of tennis to get to the international tournaments where I was playing competitively. 16 years. And that being said, I was practicing in the morning, then I had a physical training afternoon and evening another evening practice session. In a go-karting, I see a lot of families come in, they practice or they come to the races only, at race weekend, and then they like, hey, my kid is not winning or my kid is not beating these guys. They must have been cheating because their engines are quicker, which none of this is true. It's it's a time or called a seat time, and I try to put a lot of emphasis at the practice, 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 and you should not quit the sport if you're not doing good only after like a couple months or a couple years. Like it takes a lot of time because there are so many professional drivers, believe me or not. um, the guys that practicing a lot, they putting thousands of laps. You cannot compete against somebody that only put 200 laps. So that's what I was trying to point out. Yeah, go ahead, Chocolate.
So another thing to add on to that is like that's one of my biggest motivations, especially in the off season, is just to work harder than because there's so many people that have the same goals and have the same dreams. So that's probably my biggest motivation is just to work harder and make it like just make yourself better in any way every day, at least 1% better. And that's what I've been doing pretty much every day, like taking notes on old film, um, learn my go kart, look at the setup, work out. Like that's one of my biggest motivations going into this next season is just to work harder than everyone.
That's
I mean,
great.
it's a common theme we've heard kind of throughout this. What are we at now? 2 some hours, right? Is kind of managing those expectations and setting realistic expectations for yourself. Because going back to the very beginning, it's not as easy as it looks.
No.
And all
Nope.
these tracks have open practice days, and you can spend the first year. I think most people who are new to karting would be fine just running practice days all year. It's not like you need to just jump into a race off the bat. I mean, I remember I had run karts when I was younger. I'd run a Briggs, and I just ran practice days at the karting kettle in Elkhart Lake. I would literally just push my cart through town in Elkhart Lake to the karting kettle, which is unfortunately no longer there. But I just ran laps. But I remember the first race I ever did in 2010. I was scared shitless, but I had still had experience. But there was no way I was ready. The first year that I got in a kart, there was no way I could have just jumped into a race. I just didn't have the ability to do it. And once you get over that hump, then you become comfortable with it. But I know a lot of people just are fine just doing track days, just learning the kart, getting comfortable with it, and then you can slowly start progressing into racing if that's the route you want to go.
Charlie, it took
Dude, you
me
and I are. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Charlie, it took me four seasons to win my first race, and that was a heat race. Okay, that's when we were doing, that's like we're on the Road America where you do, two heats and a final. I mean, it took me 4 seasons to win my first race. But once I won
Yeah,
my first race, guess what? I won my second race the next week. I won my third
right,
race the next week, and then I
Yep.
finally won a final at the end of the season, so
right.
it's just one of those things that like it's gonna come
Takes
to
time.
you. It's gonna come to you. As long as you don't give up and you just know that it's there and your time's gonna come. Um, I mean, dude, you're definitely in the right place in this podcast because you probably got, you got 6 guys who are a huge fan of you and are gonna do whatever it takes to get you where you need to be.
Yeah,
Um,
I appreciate it so much from all of you.
you're definitely never gonna be shy of help, but just that it's not so much expectation because we all expect to win at some point. It's just when the expectation becomes reality.
Yeah,
So
Yep.
you keep preparing yourself to win. It's gonna happen. That's all you
right.
can. All you can do is just prepare, prepare, prepare. I mean, Brian's laughing because I already have my new go kart built for next year.
I'm still
Oh
waiting to
yeah,
win, and I still need a kart.
Like I mean,
like I'm
literally,
already.
dude. I've got a cart built, ready to go, and I'm rebuilding another one. Like,
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm
like
saying? And I'm
me and
just
my
trying.
dad
I'm
are.
trying to win the Tag Masters. I'm just trying to win the Tag Masters Championship. Our little
Me
inky dink
too.
10 race, our little inky dink 10 race series that is storming the nation.
That was
You're
my
gonna have to go
goal.
through me, I guess.
That was my goal for 2022, but then Andy showed up. Good thing he's not here right now.
He's not here right that was a
So we're
good
not
one.
cutting that out,
Hey,
Roman.
where
Oh man,
you know what? Hey, we
we,
somehow did not get a vlog that weekend, Roman,
I know. Well, well, you know what?
because the
or
GoPro
or an
didn't.
Andy interview.
I will tell you why. I'll tell you why. We didn't get the vlog because I was going to actually make a vlog and talk about this and at the end of the day, but Andy has bigger balls than I do. He contacted me and he actually said that, man, I'm sorry. And I'm like, that's like right. I'm
How can
like,
I
I
bitch
Damn
now?
that's
it!
it.
He apologized before I
Exactly.
was about to rip his ass in the vlog.
That's I was going to,
That's boring
and
content.
Oh man. Way
and
to go,
and
Andy. Andy, if you're listening, you ruined an awesome vlog, asshole.
Is that the middle finger weekend?
but again, I have to mention this, like how like how much it takes actually the strength to someone to come forward and actually apologize if it's something. I think I was wrong, like I was a little bit overreactive. Whatever, we had the situation. To the people that don't know, we kind of like we got into that crash, and then I
Sign language.
during the race, I kind of you know pushed Andy off the track. I get not off the track, but anyways, I did something that I supposed not to do. But anyways,
You showed
he
Andy
reached
he was
out to
number
me.
one when he was 11th.
I'd say Brian and I had a front row seat to that after we both DNF'd and were watching from the infield.
Oh, it was amazing. I've never been happier to be on the sideline. I would have never seen it.
Well,
Like we
I
were
got.
standing there in our helmets.
If you guys
like,
don't know, I got.
race is going on, and Brian just leans over and goes, "That's a DQ."
It was actually. That was the first time actually I got kicked out of the club. Like I could not believe that, but I think I totally deserved it because Andy said he didn't feel comfortable and he pulled into the scale house, so I ended his race. So I deserved to be DQ'd. Like I fully did. But the whole story is he had such a personality, such a great big balls actually to come forward and walk up to you and say like, hey, you know what? I was wrong. I'm sorry. And to me, it makes that what makes you a man. Like in my eyes, I have utmost respect for him for doing so because I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
So
amen.
that's why it didn't make into the vlog. I was going to vlog and and talk to people like, hey, look at this guy was wrong, blah blah. Oh, that's not Andy, right? No, it's not.
Now you're on a podcast again. Oh, you're working.
Yeah,
Kevin's
so
coming back. He wants to hear more.
okay, yeah. So
Boys, I gotta go.
I'll keep
Are your
I'll
breaks
keep it
always this
between him
long?
and.
Yeah, my 2-hour break is over.
Yeah.
All right.
Now it's time to go home.
Yeah, that's actually we got to wrap up. It's been
Yeah.
we we've kept you guys too long already.
It's easy to talk racing.
No, that's what
Yeah.
happens, right? You just kind of get lost in it.
Yeah.
But for real though, like Charlie, Justin, Brian, Roman, Kevin, Andy, first half of this, if you're listening, my competitors, our friends, thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thanks for having me.
For kind of shedding some light on karting and what makes it so special. Keep in touch over the off season, boys. Can't wait for 2023. Have a good holiday season. And
Hey, congrats, Nick, on the getting married.
Congratulations.
Sure.
Hey,
Yeah,
well, we skipped our normal "How was everybody doing?" announcement section, so I'm glad somebody brought it up.
totally. Yeah. So congrats, Nick.
oh, thanks, man. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, man.
Could have
So-
got married at Las Vegas.
What's that?
Should
You
have
could
get
have
married
done
at
it
Las
at
Vegas.
Super Nats.
Super Nats, yeah.
Maybe a
schedule
Super
it.
Nats? Yeah, I don't know if she would have
Done
gone.
Super
for that.
Nats weekend. You could have done it at the hotel. There's a marriage
Yeah.
thing right there.
Perfect.
Yeah, with Elvis and everything, right? Like,
Yeah. And
Yeah, I mean,
Chippendales. They were there too.
she likes racing, or she lets me race. We'll say that much. But I don't know.
That might be
I
pushing
don't
it.
know if it would have gone that far. But
Well,
thank you, Justin. Appreciate that.
time to get working on some cadets now.
That's. I mean, we're not trying. But for real, guys, thank you so much for coming. To everyone listening, we can't thank you enough. We don't want you to just to listen. We want to interact with you. You can find us on the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Check Engine Pod. Look Check Engine Podcast on Google. Remember Roman's vlog, LV2 Race. Charlie's on YouTube. Charlie, you want to plug your channel quick?
Yeah, sure. I do similar stuff. I take a lot of notes from Roman actually in his videos. It's just Charlie Ropke, Ropke. I'm on all the other socials too.
Awesome. We've also got some merch from Mean Wiener. You guys can go get that, you listeners. What was that website again, boys?
So yeah, so you can follow Mean Wiener Racing on Instagram, and in the bio for Mean Wiener Racing, can find the link where you can purchase some merch. We got short sleeve shirts, long sleeve shirts. We got anything that we can possibly get with a mean ass little wiener dog with some wheels and a helmet on. So
Those shirts are awesome.
we it's just something that um, it started literally because when Brian came to buy my cart, I was fostering a wiener dog, and his exact words were, "The cart's leaving, but the dog's not." And sure as shit, adopted like a week later. So it's been pretty cool actually. Um, I've gotten a lot of people. We actually had an international order for apparel.
Shut up.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We haven't had that.
Nope.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
We've been doing this for
Yeah,
5 years.
We're
so
lucky
it's pretty
it's
cool.
not
And,
happening.
it's gotten pretty big down in Florida. I actually just posted it. I just posted our website down at where the Snowball Derby, and they just there's people eating it up. So just cool. It's just something that we like to do to just kind of share our love for animals and racing. So
3 wiener dogs amongst the two of us.
yep,
Ah,
anybody
there you
can
go.
be a wiener. Anybody can be a wiener.
They're assholes.
Wieners.
What Nick?
Got
What
some
was,
good.
yeah, what was Nick? Nick was gonna make an exclusive shirt for us. It's not a race until your wiener comes out. Was that what it was gonna be?
Yeah, we got to put the CEP logo on there as well, though.
Or
It'll be a co-brand.
are winners like 2 strokes?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
There you go. Oh, we broke Kevin and Roman.
All right,
Limited supply
Awesome.
coming.
There you go. So check out what Mean Wiener's got. Again, guys, thank you. Listeners, we love recording this for you. We can't wait to do it again. Until we do, happy holidays. Take care.